Sydney Sweeney just responded to being labeled MAGA Barbie online, and her reaction wasn't what many people expected. Instead of turning it into a political statement, she addressed something much bigger: how the internet assigns identities to celebrities without really knowing them. And what she said reveals a growing problem in online culture that goes far beyond Hollywood. Stay with me because this story is not just about one actress. It's about how narratives are built, spread, and misunderstood in real time. The conversation started during an interview with Cosmopolitan, where Sydney Sweeney was discussing the launch of her lingerie line, SYRN. During the interview, she was asked about social media speculation around her political views, including being frequently labeled with political nicknames online. Her response was calm, measured, and surprisingly reflective. She explained that she's never tried to position herself as a political voice. Instead, she sees herself as someone in the arts, focused on storytelling and creative work. And when people attach labels to her, she sees it as something outside her control. In her words, it's somebody else assigning something to me. This highlights a key reality of modern fame. Once you're a public figure, people often project narratives onto you, whether they're accurate or not. But why didn't she just correct the assumptions? And why does staying silent sometimes make the situation even bigger? Let's break down what she said next. Sweeney admitted that she hasn't fully figured out how to handle these assumptions. She explained that if she denies a label, some people might say she's only doing it for public image. And if she stays silent, others interpret that silence in their own way. Her takeaway? There's no way to control how everyone perceives you online. So instead, she focuses on being consistent with who she is in real life. She emphasized that she's not a hateful person and that she believes in respect and understanding. That statement was important because it reframed the discussion away from politics and toward basic human values. But this wasn't the first time her public image sparked debate. There was another moment last year that unexpectedly pulled her into online controversy, and it shows how quickly something simple can turn into a massive conversation. In 2025, a jeans commercial featuring Sydney Sweeney caused unexpected reactions online. Some viewers interpreted the campaign in ways the creators and Sweeney herself said were not intended. She later shared that she was honestly surprised by how people reacted, explaining that many assumptions about her motives were simply not true. This moment became an example of how internet discourse can escalate rapidly, especially when it involves celebrities, branding, and social media narratives. So what did Sydney Sweeney learn from all of this, and why does she believe silence can sometimes make divisions worse? That part of her response is actually one of the most revealing. After the reaction to the campaign, Sydney Sweeney reflected on how she usually handles public attention. For a long time, her approach was simple: don't respond, whether the coverage is positive or negative. But she recently shared that staying silent on certain topics can sometimes widen misunderstandings rather than reduce them. She said she hopes the new year will bring more focus on what connects people instead of what divides them. That statement stood out because it shows a shift in how celebrities are thinking about their role in public conversations. Instead of reacting emotionally, she chose a calm, unifying message. But why do labels like this spread so fast in the first place? And why do celebrities become symbols for narratives they never chose? To understand that, we need to look at how online identity works today. In the age of social media, public figures often become symbols. People simplify complex individuals into easy-to-share labels, hashtags, or stereotypes. It makes content more shareable, more clickable, and easier to discuss. But it also removes nuance. Sydney Sweeney's response shows how frustrating that can be. She pointed out that people assign motives and identities without fully knowing the person behind the headlines. This isn't unique to her. Many celebrities have spoken about how public perception can drift far from reality. The difference here is that she chose to highlight empathy and understanding rather than escalate the conversation. So what does this mean for her career and public image? And could her response actually change how people see her? The next part of her statement gives an interesting insight into how she wants to move forward. Sweeney made it clear that her primary focus is storytelling and acting. She said she never imagined getting involved in political conversations and that it's not why she became an actor. For her, the goal is to create art, tell stories, and connect with audiences emotionally. She also emphasized that she doesn't believe in hate in any form. and supports respect and understanding between people. This message resonated with many fans because it reframed her public persona around creativity rather than controversy. But there's a bigger question here. Can celebrities ever truly stay neutral in today's online environment? And what happens when the internet decides a narrative for them? That's where this story becomes much larger than just one actress. Sydney Sweeney's response didn't just address a nickname, it highlighted a much bigger pattern in digital culture. Today, celebrities are often turned into symbols for debates they never asked to be part of. A single photo ad campaign or interview clip can spark assumptions that spread across platforms within hours. In many cases, the original context gets lost. People share simplified versions of a story, and those versions often become more powerful than the truth. Sweeney's experience shows how quickly someone can be pulled into conversations they didn't initiate, simply because the internet loves narratives. But why do people feel so strongly about celebrity labels? And why do these stories trend so consistently? The answer lies in how online platforms amplify identity and controversy. Algorithms reward content that sparks engagement, comments, debates, reactions. Labels and polarizing narratives are easy to share, easy to understand, and easy to argue about. That makes them powerful tools for virality, even when they oversimplify reality. Sydney Sweeney's calm reaction is interesting because it pushes back against that dynamic. Instead of feeding the narrative, she stepped outside it and reframed the conversation around empathy and understanding. That's a rare approach in a system that often rewards the opposite. So how are fans reacting to her response? And what does this mean for her future projects and public image? This is where things get really interesting. Many fans praised her for staying grounded and refusing to be pulled into divisive conversations. Others appreciated that she openly said she doesn't want to be a political spokesperson and prefers to focus on her work in the arts. Her message about respect and unity resonated with people who are tired of constant online polarization. At the same time, some critics argued that celebrities should use their platforms to speak on social issues. This highlights a larger debate. Is staying neutral a form of responsibility or avoidance? Sydney Sweeney didn't directly answer that question, but her response offered a personal perspective rather than a universal rule. And this raises a fascinating question. Are celebrities obligated to take public stances, or should they be free to stay focused on their craft? The next part of this story explores how Hollywood and audiences are evolving on this topic. In the past, actors were primarily known for their roles. Today, they're often expected to share opinions on everything, from culture to politics to social movements. This shift has changed what fame means. Public figures are no longer just entertainers. They're seen as voices, symbols, and sometimes even representatives of entire groups. Sydney Sweeney's response reflects a different philosophy, that an artist can choose to focus on storytelling without becoming a spokesperson for broader debates. This perspective is becoming more common as celebrities push back against being constantly politicized. So what's the takeaway from all of this, and why does this moment matter beyond just one headline? That's exactly what we'll unpack in the final part. At first glance, this might seem like just another celebrity headline, but Sydney Sweeney's response actually reflects a deeper shift in how public figures handle identity in the digital age. Instead of embracing or fighting the label, she chose a third path: detachment. She acknowledged that people will assign narratives, but also made it clear that those narratives don't define her. That's an important message in an era where online identity can feel permanent and overwhelming. But there's something even more interesting here. Her reaction wasn't defensive, angry, or dramatic. It was calm and reflective. So why did this approach resonate so strongly with people? When Sweeney said she believes in respect, understanding, and connection, she shifted the conversation from labels to values. That's powerful because values are universal, while labels are divisive. By refusing to engage in the labeling game, she reframed the narrative around shared humanity rather than political identity. In a highly polarized online environment, that kind of message can stand out precisely because it's simple and non-confrontational. But there's a flip side. Some argue that staying neutral can also be misunderstood, or even criticized. So where is the line between neutrality and responsibility? Today's celebrities operate in a space where silence can be interpreted in multiple ways. Some fans expect public figures to speak out on major issues. Others prefer when actors stay focused on their craft and avoid public debates. Sydney Sweeney acknowledged this tension. She explained that no matter what she says or doesn't say, people will interpret it through their own lens. Her solution? Stay authentic, consistent, and focused on her core purpose, storytelling. So how might this affect her career going forward? Will audiences judge her differently, or will this response strengthen her public image? The answer may reveal something about where Hollywood culture is heading next. Moments like this can shape how audiences perceive a celebrity beyond their roles. By responding calmly and focusing on unity, Sweeney positioned herself as a figure who prioritizes art over controversy. This approach could broaden her appeal to diverse audiences who prefer entertainment without constant political framing. It also reinforces her personal brand as someone grounded, thoughtful, and focused on creativity rather than online debates. But the internet doesn't move on easily. Every statement becomes part of a larger narrative, whether intended or not. So what does this tell us about the future of celebrity culture in the algorithm-driven age? That's where this story becomes bigger than any single headline. Sydney Sweeney's response may seem simple, but it reflects a growing shift in how celebrities manage their public identities. In the past, stars were shaped mostly by movies, interviews, and magazines. Today, they're shaped by viral clips, headlines, and social media narratives that can form in minutes. Sweeney's approach, focusing on empathy, art, and personal values, shows a new strategy for navigating that reality. Instead of trying to control the narrative, she chose to clarify her intentions and let her work speak for itself. This approach doesn't eliminate controversy, but it changes the tone of the conversation. It moves the focus from speculation to authenticity. But here's the real question. Will this approach become the new norm for celebrities, or is it still the exception? The answer might depend on how audiences respond in the years ahead. This story isn't just about Sydney Sweeney, it's also about us as viewers. When we share labels, clips, or headlines, we're participating in shaping someone's public identity. Sometimes that identity is accurate. Other times, it's a simplified version of a much more complex person. Sweeney's comments remind us that celebrities are individuals with their own perspectives, boundaries, and goals, and that public narratives often say as much about online culture as they do about the person at the center of the story. So what happens next for Sydney Sweeney? Will she continue addressing these narratives, or will she step back and focus entirely on her projects? Her next interviews and roles could reveal a lot. Sydney Sweeney's reaction to being labeled online wasn't dramatic, confrontational, or political. Instead, it was reflective, focused on identity, creativity, and connection. Her message was clear. She knows who she is. She believes in respect and understanding, and she won't let online narratives define her. This moment highlights a broader shift in celebrity culture where public figures are finding new ways to navigate digital narratives without losing their personal identity. And it raises a bigger question. In an age where everyone can shape a story, who really controls the narrative, celebrities, media, or the audience?